Hello again, and thank you for joining me for this section of the Haw River Trail River Guide series. Today we are going from Union Bridge to Chicken Bridge on the Haw River. In the first stretch we'll cover, on the overhead we'll pick up Cane Creek and then make our way down the river. As you can see from the aerial view here, there's a little bit of development on the banks. There'll be a few houses, mostly on the left side. Still pretty remote. Pretty scenic and beautiful run, and we'll be coming up here around a couple bends, and the first major feature on the river on this run is Midget Falls, about a 3-foot pour over. The entire run is 5.5 miles, and today's river level is 2.1 feet on the gauge, which is listed as the minimum. The put in here, as you've seen in my previous videos, is pretty long stairs. And they're sloped to the right as you go down, so your boat will want to track off to the right. As you see, you'll need to kind of give a little effort to keep your boat to the left. Whatever you do, don't try to slide down this set of stairs in your boat or you will hit that pole, and that will be a negative experience for you. Have a beautiful morning today, another 75-degree day in February. And the way I read the law, it says if you have a kayak, you're actually required to use it on 75-degree days in February. As you've seen on most of these videos, these landings are phenomenal. A nice set of stairs with a good platform at the bottom makes things really easy for getting in and out. So now we're off down the river. There'll be several boulders along the way. Several small rock gardens and some small features, some small riffles. There's a lot of wildlife on this run, a lot of birds, some eagles, ospreys, geese, cormorants, all that sort of thing. Saw several muskrats and a beaver and a groundhog. The banks here are a little higher than before. They're at about 12 feet in most places. Which is normal for a river that's growing. Again, if you ever see the banks coming extremely closer to the water, there may be some kind of dam, be it natural or man-made ahead. But these banks are pretty tall, very difficult for getting access to the mainland, meaning difficult for camping or beaching your craft. Here you see a man-made structure. This is the confluence of Cane Creek. So when you see that set of stairs, look up to the right and you'll see Cane Creek, and there it is, the confluence here. Not yet had the chance to explore Cane Creek, but I'm looking to do that in the near future. Moving down the river, some more beautiful scenery. There's a good mix between something to look at and some relaxing paddle on this run. There's always something, even though you'll have flat stretches like this, the scenery is changing and the river is fairly windy with boulders, so it keeps you entertained as you're moving down between features. This is the first notable rapid you come to, a little class 1. At low flows like today, stick to the right near that boulder, find this V right here, and you'll have the best shot of getting through without scraping. At higher flows, at 2.5, you starts opening up a lot of different channels. At 3 feet, you can pretty much go, anywhere you like on this river, just dodging the bigger boulders. Most of this run up to Midget Falls is just a nice relaxing paddle, with scenery like this being very common. Around each bend though, there's usually something sort of like this feature to keep you entertained. It just takes the monotony off of paddling the flat water. And just find the tongues between the boulders and kind of pick your route. You can go nearly anywhere as long as you have water. There's no consequences except grounding out if you make a poor decision. So just take your time as you bob through these little boulders, try to find where all the water's going, because that's going to be good practice for what's coming after Midget Falls. With this formation of rocks, the river is really changing in character, starting pretty much at Saxbahaw, and it's not like the river stretches above. You're getting a lot more exposed rock, a lot bigger boulders protruding out of the river, and they're happening a lot more frequently. As well as the river's getting a lot wider and shallower. And this is going to cause some different things to happen downriver, namely the braiding I've been talking about. You're going to get a lot more islands, and you're going to have to really pick and choose your routes the lower the water gets. At high water, you pretty much have a fun, fast ride through most of the stretches, but at low water, if you don't pick your route correctly, you'll be having a long, slow walk. This is the beginning of Midget Falls. It's basically 100 yards or so of rock garden, and you can see this giant sycamore that's been beached here in the middle of the river. Another testament to how wide and shallow the river is here. Most places on a river, the center of the river is not where you'll have a tree, lodge up after a flood. So just kind of pick your route. There's several different options here. Some are better than others. Just kind of find the water and weave your way through. I go right of the tree if it's still there when you go, but basically that's center right at the beginning of the rock garden. Then I'm going to make my way over to the right. Some pretty good routes. At higher water you can get through anywhere. I am pretty much in the center here of Midget Falls, doing a little back paddling, trying to assess the view. So what I'm looking for is the outflow, and I see that is happening more at about the 1 or 2 o'clock of my boat. So I'm going to back up just a little bit and get a better angle on there. And basically looking for where is the water coming out of the bottom of the rapid. And that usually gives you an indication of how much water is going through the rapid at a certain location. So you're going to want to chase the water, because that's where you're going to be able to get through at lower water here. At higher water, you're looking at more dangerous features than can I get through. It's more of a what should I avoid. But at lower water, in most cases, you're just looking for volume of water sufficient to float your boat. You just don't want to ground out. There'll be a little picking and choosing the more rocky and the lower the water becomes. From Midget Falls down, we'll take a little turn here. There's an island on the right, and then you'll see Guardrail Ledge, which funnels you into the far right channel. And this can be tricky because that's not always the best bet. We'll go over that in a little bit in a minute. And that's the track I took today, where I kind of weaved and bobbed through the braided islands and then ended up on the right side. And then just after all that action is one more rapid, and then the takeout at Chicken Bridge. So the main course for this river from about where we are to Jordan Lake is going to be picking your way through very bouldery riverbed. And I like that. I like boulder gardens and rock formations. It kind of gives you something to look at. It's very pretty, very scenic, and it keeps you active as you paddle around and through it. It's much better for me than just a monotonous straight paddle. And here you see me just weaving in between the rocks just for the fun of it. Right ahead of my boat right now is the de-watered entrance to the channel of the island. Water comes in from the backside but doesn't quite make it to the river at this water level. At a higher water level, the water will be going through there, but do not enter that channel. It's extremely choked with wood and trees, both alive and fallen, and would be a death trap. As we've mentioned before, the smaller channels around islands and in a braid are usually the ones you're going to find hazards and obstacles on, because not enough water goes through there to keep them cleared out. This one's no different. Up ahead though is Guardrail Ledge, which is a mostly underwater ledge of rocks that forms a rock garden that pushes you to the river right, which is inadvertently the smallest channel, but also it's the outside bend of the river, which is rare that you'd have an outside bend be the smallest channel. So you have a couple of things working against each other. Normally the outside bend is the main channel and has the most water. In this case, as you see here at Guardrail Ledge, the outside has the most water but is the smallest channel. So you're kind of forced to take it. You can drag through that rock garden to the left, and I kind of got a wide view here so you can see just how big this rock garden is. And it kind of pushes you to the far right wall of the riverbank. Don't be afraid, you can just go with it. At higher water you can go anywhere through that rock garden, and it's a lot of fun actually. The only caution I'll give you when you do this run, if at higher water you're not very confident with your skills, stay in the bigger channel because it'll afford you the best chance to not get broached versus going into the smaller channels where you're having to weave in and out of these broken island chains. And there may be wood and rack lines and obstacles in those smaller channels that you can't see coming. So if there's any doubt at all as to your skill level or the safety of it, stick with the bigger channel at higher water. But as you see, we're coming in here. We're on the right side of the river now. This giant rock garden is still going on. And we're going to get funneled into that far right channel, and then we're into the maze of islands that's up ahead. And this is just one of the features that this river has that can be a lot of fun, or it can be very frustrating, depending on how low the water is and how good a decision you make in which way to go. When I got into this channel, I immediately wanted to be out in the big river because that's just my nature sometimes. As you can see, the water is just barely trickling through here, and you're always thinking the grass is greener on the other side. But you're committed now, unless you want to stop and pull over the island to get over there. Just keep going. We'll see what happens. If you find yourself in a situation on a river and it gets less and less water, as you see the water here splits, and that rack line ahead, that's another small island splitting the channel again. Do I go left? Do I go right? You just got to look at the water and see which way the water is moving. So I'm in the far right channel. It's getting less and less water as the water moves in and around these little islands. And it's not always a situation that you can get your boat where the water's going. Still enough to float. I'm coming through here. I'm starting to ground out a little bit before, after, and during the rapids. And it's starting to make me want to feel like I need to get back to that main channel, which is off to my left. This is not the main channel right here. This is just where another little island braid comes back. So I'm going to work my way back to the left to get out to the main side as an illustration of what you might do if you're caught in this situation. Here I am grounding out, picking my way through. I've done this with loaded boats on trips and it's no fun. Sometimes you have to get out and walk for a quarter of a mile. And this is why 2.1 feet on the gauge is the minimum recommended level. Below this you're really going to have to get out a bunch most likely, or tear your boat up trying to stay in it. So if you've ever done extensive land navigation with the compass at night on unfamiliar terrain, this is the kind of moment where panic sets in. I'm demonstrating how you want to try to find your way through these rapids and you're kind of not in the best situation. So now I'm trying to get back to left, which I know is the main river, because I'm believing in my mind that that's going to be better. And here you see I'm almost at the point where I'm going to have to start walking the boat. If it was any shallower, I'd need to get out. There's just enough where I can scrape through each of these rapids. And that's about the end of the road for floating your boat. But that's the main channel just up ahead. So we made it. I'll just get out and pull my boat across a couple little spots. Need to get over here. Still very shallow. Break some branches. Get my camera through there. Get out again. Pull that over into the main channel, and then I'm good to go. Now there's no really perfect answer to this run at this level. Because I know the run, I would have stayed to the far right. It would have gotten a little scrapey, but that's where I'm going to end up anyway. A little higher water, you can go pretty much a lot more options. But if you get in a situation, it's not the end of the run. You just need to kind of use your head and try to get back to the main channel if you feel like it's running out on you. So now I'm in the main channel, and all of a sudden the main channel becomes the small channel. So all the water's running to the right, and all that work to get out here to the main channel I thought was going to make my life better, and I see that it's pretty much just a big dry boulder garden. I look back upstream, and you have to wonder, would it have been better if I'd have gone that route? Well, that's part of the fun of exploring these rivers. So now I'm heading back to the right again, and you can see all the big rack lines on the islands, and those are what make it dangerous at higher water. As I'm following the winding maze of water through here, I come to a place right here where the water's going right, but I opt to go left because that gives me an opportunity to scout from my boat. If I'd have gone right there at that fork, I would have been committed, but the water here is very still. Gives me a chance to kind of evaluate, do I want to stay where I'm at, or do I in fact want to go to that right side? Which I do. There's no real option where I'm at, and the water seems to be going pretty good with a good depth over there on the left side. So I'm going to just kind of make my way back up to the channel. And whenever you're trying to pick and choose, eddying out or getting to a position of vantage is always a good option. And you can do that. It may not be where you want to go, but it may give you a chance to check to see if it's safe or is it in fact the way you want to go. So if you need to get out and take a look, or if you need to eddy out, you know, those are all considerations. So you can see this is only about 6 feet wide through here, but it's got a pretty good bit of water for what's coming through these islands. And this is the main channel on the right side now, where I would have been if I'd have stuck with where I was. So like I say, there's no just one solution to getting through braided rivers, but some solutions are definitely better than others. Unfortunately, figuring out what's the best path through a maze or through a braided river or through islands and boulders and whatnot can be very difficult. Experience and a little scouting will be your best tool. It's a pretty feature with the natural river-wide ledge here. Go river left had the best option. At higher water, you can go anywhere, it probably won't even be there. And there you see the tongue with the most outflow, and we'll just take that. This is the last feature on the river on this run before the bridge. Far river right is the best run at high water. It's the biggest feature. But at this water level, you kind of need to stick a little bit left of center. Shoot right there, and I'll swing it back upstream so you can see what I'm talking about. On the far right, where I normally run it at low water here, there's kind of a weird rock. See the water piling up on the front of that rock coming over the ledge? With any kind of sizable boat at all, that's going to give you trouble. It's going to cause a piton, which is where your nose of your boat hits that rock, and then it's going to broach you one side or the other and probably fill you up with water and flip you. And it'll either be funny or it'll be a ruined day depending on what the weather is. But just avoid that at low water. And there you can see the bridge. As we come up to it, we have one more little feature here. And then there's actually two takeouts, depending on what you want to try to do. The first one is just after this rapid on the left, and it's got a more low sloping approach to the bank, but you have to carry the boat downriver under the bridge and then link up with the trail. This is the other takeout. It's a lot more vertical. It's the one I use today because it's got the shortest track. And there are no stairs here at either one of these points. You just have to use the good old-fashioned riverbank. As you can see, it's a pretty good trail. There are no obstacles, plenty wide to get a canoe or a kayak on your shoulder down this trail. And you pop out right here at the parking lot. And that's it. That's Union Bridge to Chicken Bridge. Thanks for watching.